see what happens. Doesn't seem to have gone live just yet. Emma Burns, give us a wave. Emma's back. We can't. That's always a positive. Okay, I'm gonna whack it over onto the screen now. Come on. Hello and welcome to the United Stand. I do have my guests there. I thought they disappeared for a moment there, but welcome to the United Stand. Taxi for Louis van Gaal. I think that is an inevitability. Van Gaal, will obviously be talking about him. Mourinho, that feeds into that as well. And also, we'll be talking about where Manchester United go from here, I think is the main thing. I'm joined by Alex and Paul. I'll bring them in very quickly. How you doing, lads?
Yeah, very good. Very good. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. And Alex?
Great, thank you.
Good, welcome. It's good to have you back. You can hear me because I think the screen was up there before. But we are live. I need to get the live comments section up and running as well. First things first, though, I just want to apologise a little bit for my attitude on the live reaction earlier to the game. Wasn't in the best of moods. We didn't know at that time what the reality was. It appears it's a hoax, which I'm pleased about, but obviously it's still sort of it makes you think how things badly could go wrong, and thankfully it wasn't the case. I am wearing a smart attire. I'm not doing that on purpose. We've just been filming something else before we come on air, which we'll show you later in the week. It is the FA Cup week, so hence that I haven't had time to get changed. But yeah, and it looks like we might be playing on Tuesday night. That's a lot of the rumours, but that's by the by. The reality is top four is gone. I'm saying taxi for Louis van Gaal. I think a lot of people are as well. And we're going to get into the gist of all that now. But I think the big thing I wanted to start off with, lads, was where does this leave Manchester United now? Where's it all gone wrong, and where do we go from here? I'm going to go to you, Alex, first. You've not been on for a while. I think, we're talking to Joe earlier, I think it's unfair. Well, it's not unfair. We could talk about last season, but when you compare last season to this season, whether you like Van Gaal or not, there's no progress. It's a hell of a lot worse. I keep saying it. We are bottom of the 92 clubs in English football for goals at home. I mean, we're Manchester United, for God's sake, Old Trafford, and we are bottom. You know, even the likes of Carlisle and things like that have scored more than us. But where's it all gone wrong for you as a Manchester United fan?
I just think
was it when you bought the Memphis shirt?
No, even better. Martial curse this time. But yeah, I think it's just the players seem to. They say like, oh yeah, that we're fully behind him and everything, but I think he's just lost the players. I saw some stat, I think it was today, of like that every single stat is worse this season than last season. So we're just getting progressively worse, and it's like it came down to the final game if we could have got top four still, but realistically we would have been, and we deserve to be, nowhere near the top four. And it's just recently City happened to collapse, which gave us the glimpse of hope in the first place. But the amount of goals we score and just everything, our style of play, just passing sideways the entire time, it's just an absolute joke. And it always just takes Martial just doing something like dribbling around an entire team on his own and then scoring. It's like we don't create the chances like on a plate for him.
Carrick fans saying there, you've jinxed Martial. We're fully aware of it, Carrick fan, don't worry. We've tried our best, but I'm going to dig into Alex a bit later for even buying a shirt, and Paul may well defend him anyway, but a few people are saying you're blocked. You're not blocked. You might have just typed something that's banned. I saw somebody mention house, and then that word is blocked. So if it comes up, but mainly it's swearing, which I suppose that is. But Paul, someone thought you were him for a minute, but you're very clearly not. I got into a bit of trouble on Twitter before, Harold. I'm not going to mention names. I got into a bit of trouble on Twitter before because last night I said if fourth place means Van Gaal, I hope City don't drop points today. I was called every name under the sun by the hardcore Reds, and I think people misinterpreted what I said because I wasn't wishing Man United were going to lose, because whether we'd won or lost today it didn't really matter. What I'm convinced that fourth place meant Van Gaal stays. We'll never know now. We'll find out whether fifth place means Van Gaal stays. But for you, I mean, were you willing to take that gamble? Are you pleased that it's all over now in relation to fourth place, or would you have taken the gamble of fourth place and maybe keeping Van Gaal for another year?
Well, I'm glad it's all over. I've been waiting for the season to finish since Christmas. It's been dreadful. I always want United to win. That's the bottom line. When the game was called off and City got their point, I hate to say it, but I was relieved in a sense, in that that might mean Louis van Gaal goes. I would have been happy if we got. It's one of those things where it's mixed emotions, really. If we would have won, I'd have been happy. If City messed up and we did get top four, I'd have been pleased because I really want us to be playing in Champions League football. But then in the back of my head, I'd have been thinking to myself, but that means we're going to be under Van Gaal next season. And if you look at the last 3 seasons, we're only getting worse. Are we going to be any good in the Champions League next season? Are we going to get out the group stage? Probably not. So in a way, I was kind of gutted about it, but at the same time relieved. It's a horrible feeling. I've never felt like that before, ever, supporting Man United. So this was a first for me, and I'm just glad it's all over and we can look forward now until next season.
Jamie Flatch said something that's just totally gone from my head because I'm thinking of something else. Sorry, Jamie, I'll have to go back. But Carrick fans said that apparently the Premier League have confirmed the game will be on Tuesday now. I'm sure Alex or Paul can check that on Twitter while I'm live talking. But if that is the case, I'd be surprised if it is at Old Trafford. But it is a hoax, I suppose, at the end of the day. So there is no need for massive CCTV trolls or forensics anyway. So I suppose they probably could play the game there. A dead rubber game as far as I'm concerned. But I make no apologies about it. I'm more than happy to say what I think on Manchester United. And I was happy. Well, I wasn't happy. I'm very angry that fans have to make a decision and fall out about whether you'd risk 4th place and keeping Van Gaal or take 5th and hope that they get rid of him. But it's short-term pain for a long-term game, as I said last week, and I don't really care what other United fans say. I respect all opinions. It's a personal choice. If people want to be abusive and attack people about that, I don't think you're a United fan, and I can throw it back at you. But I understand why some people are willing to take the risk. I personally wasn't. I think this is the best chance we'll get of getting Mourinho now, was 5th place. I just feel if we'd got 4th place, they'd have kept him because they would have said it was successful, because I think we will win the FA Cup. It shouldn't be enough. It's on Tuesday night, apparently. United just tweeted it, which is typical because we checked it about 3 minutes ago before we came on air. But so Tuesday night against Bournemouth, a dead rubber game. Surely we play the youth, Alex.
That's what I was going to say. It might be a stupid question, but do we have to have the same team out, or can you just choose a whole new team? Because I would just play like all the kids. There's no point playing anyone and risk them getting like the thing for Palace, because I swear if we like play Martial or someone and he gets injured, how angry would be, or De Gea. Like, I would even give, even though I think he's a calamity, I'd give Romero that game. It's just not worth the risk with any of our players. But I was really hoping, and I'll probably get flack for it, that the game would be moved till after the FA Cup, because then Fellaini would be banned for the FA Cup final. But it looks like we'll have him fully rested after his 3-match ban for the final.
I'm sure we can pick whatever team we want to pick. Jamie Flatch said he thinks that Van Gaal will be sacked immediately after the FA Cup. I don't think he will be sacked. I think he should be sacked. I mean, David Moyes was sacked the minute it was mathematically not possible to get top 4. And this season is worse than Moyes' season. He should be sacked. He deserves to be sacked. But he won't be sacked. What will happen is he'll be allowed to leave of his own accord as he loses his earpiece. That's what will happen. And I don't think he does deserve that. But
I truly don't even think that he will be. I think he'll be our manager this time next year. Or not, maybe not this time next year, but I think by summer and pre-season and everything that he's still going to be our manager.
I don't know, Paul. I mean,
how tragic would that be? I honestly don't care how he goes. Sacked, hands in his notice, just as long as he goes. Seriously, I really don't care. As long as he's gone.
I'm more confident now. I wasn't last week. Obviously, I did the article on the website, and I did the show on my own last week, having a bit of a moan because I thought we were going to get 4th. I didn't think we'd mess up at West Ham. And as I said on Tuesday night, if you watched the watch along with us, I said, why are the team bottling it when we were 3-2 down? A point isn't a bad result, and we just never went for that, even a point. And that point would have given us the chance for top 4. We're going to beat Bournemouth now, and for those people who don't realise, we're going to beat Bournemouth, if we do beat Bournemouth, and we'll have the same points as City, and we won't get 4th because of goal difference. A point against West Ham the other night was all we needed, and I think even the players thought we had to win it. We didn't. A point would have been fine. City couldn't even beat Swansea's bloody reserves. Ridiculous. But the question is, where does it leave us now, and where has it all gone wrong? I mean, I suppose that's 2 separate questions in a way, Paul, but for me, and we were talking about this afternoon with Joey, he's right, Joey. He said it started last summer with getting rid of players that we shouldn't have got rid of and not replacing them. I mean, there are fans out there who, when they credit Van Gaal, say he's done really well with the youth, which I think I don't agree with. But also he's cleared out players. I don't agree with that. I think he cleared out the wrong players. When you look at Raphael, Robin van Persie, definitely. Di Maria wasn't really replaced. Memphis had come in before Di Maria. Memphis was not a replacement for Di Maria. It's another myth that goes out there. Di Maria wasn't replaced. I think we just had bad recruitment last year that Van Gaal now lies and says, I wanted a thin squad because then I could use the youth. But then the next week he's moaning about injuries. He's such a walking contradiction. And this season is far, far worse than last year. But I think we've made a massive mistake. And I would back that up by saying that if we do get Mourinho, Joey was saying, what would you expect from Mourinho in his first season? He wins the title in his first 2 years. That's what he does with everybody. But I think it'd be harsh to expect him to do it next year, because I do think we need a massive clear out this summer. But I'll throw it to you, Paul, and your thoughts about where is it? Why has it gone so badly wrong this year?
I think when you consider all aspects of the season, everything points back to Louis van Gaal. He has made some, what you would have thought would have been fantastic signings. Like you got Di Maria, Memphis, Falcao, all these players that were coming in with fantastic reputations. Falcao, okay, he was just come back from a really bad injury, so I don't think anybody really expected him to get back to the heights that he was. But when you look at players like Di Maria, Memphis, who in the previous season before joining United were absolutely fantastic where they were. And then as soon as they come to United under Van Gaal, they've dropped away completely. Di Maria started very well, and then picked up an injury. That thing happened at his house, had a couple of bad games, and then he was just cast aside on the bench all the time, didn't really get a look in. The same's happening to Memphis. And you've got to look at Valdez as well. He's another player that Van Gaal's brought in. It was a free transfer. But again, he, apparently refused to play for the youth team, the under-21s, I think it was. He did play for them. So I'm not quite sure what happened there, but it's the way he treated him, ostracising him, making him train on his own. I mean, what sort of prehistoric punishment is that? I think a lot of the players that haven't performed, it has to come down to the manager to an extent. Maybe not 100%. You would expect some players to at least give a bit more. But I think when you look at it in terms of the way they perform and at United, you have to look at the manager. Any other manager, they would not have been performing like this, I believe. So I think where it's all gone wrong is basically Van Gaal, poor management of players, his tactics. You just don't understand them. You don't understand his philosophy. I don't understand his philosophy. The football is dire. And again, that's the stuff on the pitch. He makes the tactics. I think everything just points at Van Gaal. And I know it sounds like I'm going on a bit of a hate campaign for Van Gaal, but I'm pretty sure millions of other people feel the same.
I don't think it's a hate campaign. I think when if you get wet and you haven't taken an umbrella, I think Van Gaal. That's a bad analogy. I'll retract that one. I think it's easy to point the blame at him because the blame probably does lie with him. There's some fantastic comments coming down there that I'm reading, but one of them that stood out, Man United's own, said Evra should have been kept. Look at how he could have helped Shaw when he got injured. Yeah, I think he should have done. It amazes me that Evra's still playing for Juventus in France. Why did we let him go? And he absolutely bled Manchester United. But massive mistakes we've made when it comes to the players. Everybody knows I can't stand Van Gaal. Everybody knows why. He's a dictator. The tactics, the way we play, that's the problem this season. It's very simple to me. We've not scored enough goals. He boasts about his defence. He boasts about the likes of Daley Blind. And the reality is, I could play centre-back for Manchester United and do a decent job, because every week I've got two defensive midfielders stood right in front of me. We don't concede many goals because we're a very defensive team, and we don't score many goals because we're a very defensive team. We set up to be defensive, and we're very boring, and the manager starts that. But you can't. Up until last week, I probably would have been 100% about the players, about the Van Gaal, Alex, but I've let it slip there. Where do the players come into this? I think the players have to take some responsibility, and I think Tuesday night probably made me look at the players a little bit more. I totally blame Van Gaal, but I do think the players, and I've always said players have got a free pass because he's ran off. Look, because I'm going to blame the players. I think the players do have a free pass to a certain extent, because if you've done your research on Louis van Gaal, and there is an article out there by a Dutch journalist that's about 18 months old, and I think a lot of us have probably read it, and it talks about how Van Gaal sets a team up. Van Gaal, yeah, and only two players in the 11 are allowed to do anything creative. I would predict in the Man United team that is probably Martial and Rooney. Everybody else has to keep possession. It's all about possession, passing it back, la-di-da. And that's Van Gaal's way of playing, and it is very, very negative. So I think you can't really judge any of the players until they've had another manager to play under and they've had a bit of freedom. However, the players don't get a total free pass because you've got to have some fight and desire. And on Tuesday night, there was zero. Apart from Martial, even De Gea didn't have a great game, but he gets a free pass. But, you know, the players have got to put some effort in. And I think on Tuesday night, there was very little. So where do you put the blame, Alex? But also, what responsibility do the players have?
Yeah, I think you do have to have a certain amount of blame on the players because, like, but like I said, it's because they're not really playing for the manager. And it's like, if you look at a prime example is Mata, where him at Chelsea compared to the Mata at United is completely different. He got like 20 goals, 20 assists in one season before. And then under us, it's like, well, playing him on the right wing doesn't help. And when you're playing all these different players in the wrong position, it's not going to do well for your morale. Thank you. And yeah, and with the management with the players as well, one of our, who we all thought was the best player on tour was Pereira. And then he got apparently dropped from he never got really many first team opportunities, but he apparently got demoted for, being immature, doing something childish. Yet Jesse Lingard, in going into one of the most important games of the season, is laughing, pissing about on his phone with that thing when the bus got attacked.
Yeah, you can read that Lingard thing one of two ways. I think the majority of people read it like this. If Roy Keane and Sir Alex Ferguson were part of that bus in their heyday, Lingard would have been picking his teeth literally up off the floor. Just modern day footballer, bad attitude, and when you're not good enough to be doing that sort of thing, you leave yourself exposed to the criticism that you've got. Although a lot of United fans think it's funny and have backed him. Lingard for me is a squad player at best. He shouldn't be playing, and I think Alex is right. Why is he playing every week? Because if you've seen Pereira play, his stats in the under-21s or the reserves or whatever they call it now have been fantastic. But no word of a lie. There's two things. Paul was talking about Valdez there. Me and Alex stayed up for the tour last year and watched the games and did live reactions in the early hours. And we said at the time that the press conference where Valdez was thrown under the bus, typically by Van Gaal, was unprofessional, and we didn't like it. And that was at a time when everyone was really liking Van Gaal because he'd been drunk at the awards a few months before, and that lots of good players had been signed. But we openly said at the time, don't like that arrogance. And Pereira on that tour was the standout player, not just as a youth player, but in compared to Rooney and everybody else who was on that pitch. In the games he played, he was the standout player. And he's not used him. And how weird that he turns up on the bench today. And yet Schneiderlin is mysteriously ill. And Schneiderlin is missing out on the Euros. I think that's an absolute tragedy, Paul. And we'll touch on that for a moment. The players that he's ruined. And it's a long list. A long, long list. Van Persie, Hernandez, Di Maria, Memphis, Rooney, Mata, Falcao, I think you've got to put down to injury. Schneiderlin, Herrera. There's just too many players who, when we go back to that article about you only let certain players play creative and everyone else has to have a very strict role. If you are a player who can play football like Herrera, like Rooney, like Mata, even Schneiderlin can play football, but you're told all you can do is pass side to side. You're not the player you are. You do. Fellaini does well for Van Gaal because he hasn't got any creativity or flair. But what he will do is tackle, do a simple pass, jump and head the ball, and Van Gaal loves that because he's just doing the simple things, and that's what Van Gaal likes. But I think it's tragic what's happened to Schneiderlin and others. That he was bought for Manchester United. He was playing for France. He was arguably the best defensive midfielder in the Premier League. He's now not even getting in on the bench, and he's messed up his Euros chances. I mean, it's really sad. And I think Mourinho, Schneiderlin would be that sort of Matic player.
A lot of players have underperformed under Van Gaal. I think Schneiderlin is a perfect example of a player who, he's quite young. He's 23, 24. He's still early in his career. Past 2 seasons, he's been one of the best midfielders in Premier League, maybe even Europe. And he comes to United as the sort of player that we're looking for, to try and take the burden off of Carrick. And he has disappointed. For me, anyway. I would put Blind ahead of Schneiderlin as a central defensive midfielder. That's how much Alex shaking his head. That's how disappointed I am with Schneiderlin. But I wouldn't blame Schneiderlin for that. As you were saying a moment ago, you can't really judge any of the players under Van Gaal. Like Memphis, for example. I spoke about Memphis a couple of weeks ago on one of the Sunday shows. So you know how I feel about that situation. But it's the same with a lot of the players that he's brought in. Darmian is another one of them. Herrera, he has some good games, some bad games. He's never getting a consistent run of games. He keeps changing the midfield up so much, changing the style. Well, not the style, but changing who's playing where in the midfield. There's no consistency. So if there's no consistency in your setup, it's not a surprise that there's no consistency in the players. They don't know whether they're coming or going. It's just all over the shop, essentially. So it's not a surprise we're in the position we are. It's not a surprise that the players aren't performing to their best of their abilities. They're not getting the time or the opportunities to do so.
Thanks to Shane Higgs there. I think he noticed that I was nearly dying there. It was a sip of water that went down the wrong hole. Jack Parry there, new kick-off, 8 o'clock Tuesday, May the 17th. I think it was Stephen Bell who was quoting a tweet from Gary Neville saying that I don't think a lot of people are understanding the massiveness of what's happened at Old Trafford today and are going on about a meaningless football game. What I would say about that is, if you saw my reaction at the time, I didn't want to talk about football. My personal opinion with this is it was a hoax. It was a real eye-opener to how this could happen and what tragedy could happen. And it may well happen at one day in the future. That's what everyone says is going to happen at some point in England. But the important thing is, it's a hoax. Even if it was real, at some point you've got to put a line under it and say, you're not impacting on our way of life. And football is our way of life. And we move on. I've not forgotten what happened today. I don't think anybody's forgotten about what happened today. But we move on. There's a game on Tuesday. There's an FA Cup final on Saturday. We are the United Stand. We are a fan channel, and we're here to talk about football. I'm not underestimating what's happened this afternoon. I'm sure it's very traumatic. I'm thankful that it wasn't anything serious. But the whole point is, if it had been real, we'd have to stand up and carry on, because that's what it is. You can't let these people ruin your lives. So that's my little 2 pence on that. But what I was going to mention next. Yeah, I agree with what Paul's got to say there. I also wanted to just quickly say that I think the board have got a massive part to play in this as well. It'd be unfair not to mention them, as well as Van Gaal and the players. They've made 3 years of bad decisions, and I'm sort of in this calmness now that they are going to make the right decision with Mourinho. I'm going to touch on Mourinho slightly in a moment, but just wanted to touch on the board because I don't think I've had the chance to say this to Alex and anybody else. That Alex is wearing the new kit there, so I presume, Alex, that you're a big fan of Woodward, being as, you'd be very hypocritical to be having a moan about him when you've just gone and put 50 odd quid in his pocket.
On the business side of things, I think he's amazing, probably like the best in the world with all the corporate side of things, because he gets us all these like Asian noodle sponsors for like 50 million quid or whatever. But in terms of buying the shirt, it was a birthday present, but I did it to fund our transfers for this coming summer, so you're welcome.
I think you'd be more likely funding Woodward and his missus's little holiday to the Maldives or something, but yeah, I personally wouldn't be buying anything at the moment, but hopefully that will change, because I like the tracksuit tops, and I've seen a nice red one I want for the summer transfer shows, but I'm not buying it until they get Mourinho. But I'm also a bit of a hypocrite because I do subscribe to all the football on TV. But if they keep Van Gaal, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I'm cancelling my subscriptions. I'm not putting money into the club if they're going to openly ignore fan opinion so much, because it must be, Paul. Like, I mean, I wouldn't like to put a figure on it, but it must be well over 95% who want Van Gaal gone. I don't think that it's that high for Mourinho in. There are still a lot of United fans out there who don't want Mourinho, and I respect that. You know, you've made your mind up, you're looking at things, you're looking at his past record, you're thinking he parks the bus, you're thinking he's messed up at Chelsea. If you want to make that decision, that's fine. I think probably 60 to 70% want Mourinho, but if they keep Van Gaal, they are openly ignoring fan opinion, and I think all football is about the fans. You know, they can say it's about sponsors or whatever like that. It never happened because fans are so different, and that's the wonder of football. But if all fans were united and just walked away from Old Trafford, and I mean all fans, football would stop because sponsors only pay into it to get our money, and they only sell kits to get our money. The fans are the ones with the power, and for me, they've got to get rid of Van Gaal to get my money back.
Yeah, I think close to 100% of United fans would like to see the back of Van Gaal. The Mourinho thing, yeah, there are still a lot of people on the fence, and again, you understand why to an extent. He's only never been at a club for more than a few years, so everybody assumes that that's going to be the case with United. I would tend to disagree with that. We all know from interviews with Mourinho that he wants to be and stay in the Premier League. I don't think he's going to go through every 20 Premier League teams until he gets to the 20th one and then stay there for the rest of his career. He wants the Man United job. He wants to stay in the Premier League. I think he would be here for the long run if given the opportunity. And I would be more than happy with that. I would love for Mourinho to come in, turn us back into winners. Do I think he'll do it in the first season? Probably not. Like you said, we do need a bit of a clear out. Not too big a clear out. We don't see the same thing happen again as what happened last year, and we get rid of too many players and then left up shit creek. Excuse the language. But I would like to have Mourinho in. I think I'm more confident that LVG will be gone this summer than I am Mourinho taking his job. Although I do think it'll be Mourinho. I'm 99% sure that Van Gaal will be gone. I can't see any reason at all now why the board would keep him. If the board keep him, well, I can't think of a reason why, which is why I'm so confident he'll be gone. I mean, can you think of a reason why the board might keep him? An FA Cup definitely can't be enough. Champions League football is where Man United belong. You belong in the Champions League.
I didn't think we would regress again under Van Gaal this badly. I thought he'd always get fourth place, and to have had what we had with Moyes, which wasn't Champions League football, to then get it back last season, to then lose it again under the same manager is unforgivable, really. And I'd agree with Paul, that's the reason he should go. If anyone thinks the FA Cup's enough, God. I mean, Wigan won the FA Cup and got relegated. I love the FA Cup. It was massive when I was growing up. It was absolutely huge, and I really do love that. And we're going to try and replicate that on Saturday, actually. I think it's a 5 o'clock kickoff or 5:30, but we're going to be on air from about, I think, 2:30, something like that. Good few hours before, building it up like it used to be. So we're going to make an event of it, because I used to love the FA Cup, but it's not. And these fans who say, oh, it's just like Sir Alex Ferguson when he won the FA Cup and he knew he was going to get the sack. Sir Alex Ferguson was like, he took over a team of a drinking culture team that hadn't won the league in like 20 odd years. Louis van Gaal's taken over a team full of championship winners. So that's where I think about that. But Mourinho, and also there was a massive age difference. Sir Alex Ferguson was very young, wasn't he? Whereas Van Gaal is very old. Mourinho always does have a number 9 of real use. I've lost them on there for some reason, but they are there. Ibrahimovic, Alex, is what I was going to say. Ibrahimovic to Manchester United, would you take him?
Yeah, he's apparently chosen his club and made his decision already, so that's all done and dusted with whoever he's chosen. But I would take him, but the thing I worry about with him is that because he's like such a big name and everything, is that he'd want to be the starting striker every single game, and I'm just worried about if he has the legs for the Premier League to be doing that. But then saying that, he just like broke the all-time scoring record in France for a single season, although that's not very impressive in that league. But I also worry that it would hamper Rashford's progression. But having said that, I don't think we can rely on Rashford being our first choice striker next season, but I still want him to play a lot of games so that he continues his development. I think people can hear you, but visually we've lost you both, so that's a bit of a shame, but we'll try and get that back there. Ibrahimovic, Paul, what's your thoughts on him?
Absolutely. I love Ibra. I love him. I'd love to have him at Man United. Absolutely. I think it was just the other day he was being interviewed by somebody, and he made the interviewer put an Ibra mask on whilst he was interviewing him. That's the sort of attitude I love about Ibrahimovic, and obviously his goal scoring ability. I'll take it Man United, and yeah, as Alex said, he will probably want to be the main striker. Now, I'm okay with that. I mean, at the moment we've got Rashford and Martial, between them scoring the goals. But I don't think it was written in the script at the beginning of the season that either of those would be the main striker. So I don't think they would be too disappointed if they weren't the main striker next season. They'll understand that we need to have a world-class number 9 up there. So if that's the case, Ibra starts. Let's say he is going to be joining United. Obviously, nothing's confirmed yet, but I would take him if he wants to start him. If he's scoring the goals, why would you take him out? Keep him there. If he doesn't score the goals, then he has to understand at the same time that he will get dropped. So, I'll take Ibra at United, absolutely.
Okay, I can't get him back, but you can hear him, so you just have to look at me, which is a bit of a shame. But we're almost there, although there was one thing I wanted to touch. Shanwaz says, Ibra's too old. I'm interested in this. How can you say no to Zlatan, says Raj. Aaron, who says Rashford can be our out-and-out striker just because he's 18. Imagine having Ancelotti, says Football Fan. I think we've missed him twice. Ty Tim says Ibrahimovic is physically strong and he has a body of a Terminator. I think he's 4 more years left him at the top. I think he's 35 in October, and that's, he's quite old when it comes to the Premier League. However, he's not a player that relies on pace. He's brilliant with his back to goal. He brings others into the play, and also he's very, very good in the box. He's strong. We haven't got a number 9 who can bully defenders, is what I'm saying. And Ibrahimovic really is very passionate. We were talking earlier about this, about whether you take Lukaku, who's Premier League proven, 23 years of age, or whether you take Ibrahimovic, who's probably in the top 5 in the world, isn't he? And he's probably got 1 year left in him, 2 maybe. I'd take Zlatan every time, because you're talking about an icon here. He follows nobody on Twitter. He absolutely is 100% up his own backside. But I like that. It's Cantona-esque. It's not arrogant. It's just better. And I'd love to have 1 year of that. I think, we've been so deprived for the last 3 years as Manchester United fans. Why don't we just spoil ourselves and go and get somebody like that who's going to get us off the edge of our seat, who's going to be passionate? And that's what I want. And he's not coming to United if we keep Van Gaal. He will come if we get Mourinho. I've got a feeling, and I want to play it down on the low, but I've got a funny feeling that we're going to get Mourinho and then we're going to get Ibrahimovic in the next 2 weeks. I think we're going to have to wait with a lot of transfers because of the Euros, and I think last year, Alex, it was around the early July when all the deals were happening. But I think Zlatan is eager to say where he's going to go, and I've just got a feeling he's going to be coming to United with Mourinho. But if he doesn't come, I don't necessarily have a problem with him. I'll have so much respect for him if he does come to the Premier League, because he's 35 years of age. He doesn't need to come here. He could go to China, he could go to America and make exactly the same amount of money and have a far easier life. If he comes to the Premier League, he's coming because clearly he wants it on his CV that he's done the Premier League. So, yeah, it'd be a definite yes for me.
Yeah, it would be a definite yes for me as well. I think that he will go to China or the MLS. Like, there's rumours that he'd replace Steven Gerrard at LA Galaxy, because how they can only have the three big names in the American League. But yeah, I would definitely take him. But it's just how much he could play as well at that age, because we've seen with Carrick and stuff that he can't play every single game, and Carrick's younger than Zlatan, and he isn't used to the physicality. But then saying that, this season they played against PSG, played against City and Chelsea, and he scored against both of them. So he can do it against Premier League teams. And I think he played against Arsenal. Can't remember if it was last season, 2 seasons or 3 seasons ago, and he destroyed them on his own. So he definitely knows how to play against Premier League players.
Yeah, I apologise for this. I cannot get them back visually on the screen no matter what I do, but they are here in audio. And, I can't do much about it. You're stuck with me in the live comments. But, Paul, I know people can't see you, so I'm anxious to get you involved audio as much as possible. Some people are saying, Ryan Giggs, I mean, it's the alternative to Mourinho. I think it is the only alternative. I mean, there is nobody else I can think of. Simeone, why do people go on about Simeone? He's Louis van Gaal in Spain. He parks the bus, but he actually scores goals by nicking games. And he's got a good player in Griezmann, but I wouldn't want Simeone at United. But some people have said, maybe Giggs should go and manage the under-18s. I personally think that's an absolute waste of time. I mean, if Ryan Giggs wants to be Manchester United manager, and I will just verify it by saying I would love somebody from the class of 92 to be Manchester United manager sometime in the future. They can't do it now because it's too much of a risk. Because they know the club like the back of their hand, it'd be really exciting. But Ryan Giggs going and managing the under-18s or the reserves. I mean, what does that do? Surely he's got to he's got to go out and manage a proper club. People have mentioned Newcastle, people like that.
Other than Mourinho, yeah, there isn't really many other options. We know Pochettino is going to be staying at Spurs. Some people are talking about Ronald Koeman. Maybe I'm not so sure myself. Ryan Giggs, for me, is a definite no, purely because I don't think he's ready. I think he needs to leave the club altogether. Not go manage the under-18s or the under-21s, but actually leave United, experience something else, experience another club, where things are done a bit differently. Build up your own sort of way of managing. Get some experience, win something, earn the right to be the Manchester United manager. It shouldn't just go on the fact that you played for the club for so many years. You were loyal to the club. That shouldn't be enough to get you the manager's position. You need to prove yourself. You need to get out there, abroad, in England, wherever, manage another club, prove to United that you've got what it takes. And then maybe in the future, if he does win trophies in other places, and we do think he's got what it takes, then yeah, by all means, bring him back in. Maybe get some of the other class of '92 involved as well, because they'll always be friends. They'll always, keep in contact with each other in years down the line. But right now, no, I don't think Giggs is ready. But then again, I wouldn't know who else to go for other than Mourinho.
Man United for life is saying Laurent Blanc. No, all he's done is manage in a very, very easy league. He wouldn't do that for me. Somebody mentioned Roy Keane. I love Roy Keane for his attitude. He's just not proved himself. I'd like him to go and get another club. I think he could do quite well. Somebody asking about James Rodriguez there from Real Madrid. I think there's a massive there's no point talking about it at the moment, but there's if we get Mourinho, the doors to the kingdom are open through George Mendes, of which Rodriguez, Saul Niguez, Andre Gomez are three very attacking players. I'd like to see it at Manchester United, not all three, but they're all George Mendes clients. And I think the big shame is, if you read between the lines about Renato Sanchez, I really wanted Renato Sanchez, box-to-box midfielder, 18 years of age, really fits into that Anthony Martial sort of signing where, you're buying him at such a young age and they've got great futures. Obviously, he's gone to Bayern Munich now. I sort of said last week, George Mendes is his agent, so Mourinho wanted him at Chelsea before Christmas. It surely sort of indicates that we're not getting Mourinho, but it's sort of come out the last couple of days that Mendes was trying to stall the deal for a little bit because United were so hesitant because Van Gaal didn't want him, and obviously United don't want to come out and undermine a manager that they might be keeping. I think there was an intention to sort of stall it a little bit, but Benfica wanted the deal to be done, and I think Sanchez quite fancied the idea of Bayern Munich, so that's why that's gone. I don't think necessarily what I thought a few days ago that it was going to stop Mourinho coming, but it was a shame. He was certainly a player I would have wanted, and we definitely scouted him for ages, but Van Gaal's to blame for that, even though he probably won't be our manager, so that's a bit of a shame. James is a big game bottler apparently. There we go. But anyway, I've lost them visually, and it seems a bit of a shame to carry on without it because it makes it very difficult. But I will stop it there. I think we've got an interesting few days, though, is what I was going to say to you, Alex. And what's your thought if you were the soothsayer for the next week? What's a little bit longer than a week? Where do you think we're going to be this time next Tuesday?
That we would have won the FA Cup, because I think we will win that, but I still think he'll be in charge. But I'm at a stage now with how our board are that I feel like we could lose the FA Cup and then finish fifth, and then he'll still keep his job. It's just ridiculous now. But then again, we could end up finishing. What's the lowest we can finish? Like 6th, is it, or 7th?
I think it might be 7th if we lose to Bournemouth. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we do play out like all our reserves, which we should do, then you never know. We could. If we come 7th, then maybe he'll get sacked.
Okay, and Paul, because people can't see you, so we'll go to Paul. Where do you think we're going to be this time next Tuesday?
I think this time next Tuesday we'll be celebrating an emphatic FA Cup victory over Crystal Palace. And I also think that we'll be pleased to know that Louis van Gaal has decided he wants to leave United and take a retirement early.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to err on the side of positivity. I think one positive about this week is that there's no dilemma between United fans about whether you want to sacrifice fourth to get rid of Van Gaal or anything like that. That's all happened now. I think everybody's on the same page. FA Cup final. We want to win that. It's a cup final. We haven't won it for years. It'd be great to get that back on our history records as winning it. 100% want to win that and behind the team. And I think we all will be for that. I'm looking forward to the FA Cup final. I'm hopeful that, like Paul says there, that Van Gaal will maybe win the trophy, give a little speech about how he's the best person in the world, and then leave. And I'll be happy if that happens. And then, so next Tuesday we could have Mourinho on Monday, Zlatan on Tuesday, and FA Cup winners, and a fantastic summer ahead of us. It's going to be interesting. We'll probably end up in the situation Alex said just there, but next Saturday, obviously, is the watch along. We'll be on very early from lunchtime. Loads of people on, loads of things going on. Get involved. It's going to be a fantastic day all the way up to kick-off is all I'm going to say. So keep your eye out for that, for the watch along. And then next Sunday, we've sort of had to fit this in somehow because the Euros are coming along. I think something's going to happen with Mourinho on the Monday. So next Sunday will be our, we did it last year, it's a Manchester United, the United Stand Awards. So at some point this stage on the website this week, we'll get about 10 categories up that you can all vote on. And then next Sunday night at 9 o'clock, it'll be the awards, end of season awards. We might struggle for some of them. Some of them might be quite obvious. Some of them less so. But we had a good time last year, and hopefully we will be celebrating an FA Cup win as well. So lots going on the United Stand this week. And I've just got I think the summer's going to go one or two ways. It's going to either, strangely, the summer's going to be more entertaining than the season we've just had. Because if we get Mourinho, all bets are off. I think there's going to be a lot of players going out the door and a lot of players coming in the door, and we'll be linked with so many people that the transfer shows are going to be excellent. Or we'll keep Van Gaal, and it'll be the most boring summer ever because who's going to want to sign for Van Gaal? But I think Alex has basically said he's expecting Van Gaal to stay. I think Paul's expecting Mourinho to go. Who knows who is going to win? I'm still a bit up in the air. I'm just being a little bit more positive about it. But thanks for coming on, Alex. Sorry we can't see you anymore. I don't know why that's happened.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Good to be back on after such a long time.
Yeah, hopefully we get Alex on a lot more. He's certainly going to be on something in this week, which is a new show for the United Stand, which we will have a second edition of on the FA Cup watch along. But keep an eye out for that. It's a good one. And thanks for coming on, Paul.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Mark. It's always a pleasure.
Good. Yeah, lots going on the United Stand. Hopefully, I just hope for all you lot that it's going to be Mourinho, because I really am excited about that and what it will mean. We're not going to buy everybody, we're not going to buy Messi or anyone like that, but the keys to the kingdom, so much will be going on. If we keep Van Gaal, I can't see how it can happen now. My only reservation is I wouldn't trust Woodward and the board to do what the fans want to happen. They never do. The old value in the market thing. I just hope they're going to do the right thing. All I'd say about Mourinho is I'm not saying he's going to bring the glory days back. Statistics suggest that he will do. But there's no guarantees in football, apart from the fact if we keep Van Gaal, we're going to be bored to death next season. We haven't even got Champions League football for him to bore us with, and we won't be winning the league, and we'll struggle to bring players in. He's got to go. We've just got to do it. And hopefully by this time, a week tomorrow, it will happen. But thanks everybody for watching. Really enjoyed the show. Lots of you watching. Do like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not part of the United Stand. It is your channel. Please keep getting involved. And really enjoyed it tonight. After a very hard day, I think we finished it in the right way, talking about football, and no one's ever going to stop us doing that. So thanks everyone for getting involved. Speak to you all later.